into Texans today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and on today's show, we're going to turn $20 into $600. Yep, get that earwax out of your ears. You heard me correctly. $20 to $600 on PrizePicks. I'm going to show you 6 player stat projections that I'm rolling with this week, and we're mostly concentrating on the week 1 game between the Texans and the Colts. So I'll let you know what I'm riding with so you can maybe win some cold, hard cash. Now, let's make a quick deal because I want to do more of these shows. I think it's really fun to, go through these daily fantasy picks and choose the more or less on these stat projections. I think it'll be a good time for us to do each and every single week. I want to hear from you, though. If you want this show to do next week and the week after that, this style, go ahead and hit that like button. If we get 500 likes on today's video, I'll go ahead and do it next week for their matchup up against the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. And obviously, we wouldn't be able to do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors over at PrizePicks. Go check them out today. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. PrizePicks is just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Download the PrizePicks app today or go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Yes, $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on prizepicks.com/CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play 5. And the kicker is, you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So what are you waiting for? PrizePicks, run your game. First up, and I know at the top of the show I said, we're focusing on the Texans-Colts game, but this is too good of a deal to pass up. For the month of September, PrizePicks, they are lowering Caleb Williams' stat projection to a half passing yard each and every week in the month of September. So, of course, I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going the more. That's 1 free win on your tally. Tally it up already. Caleb Williams, give me the more on that. So that's 1 out of 6. Now, let's get into these Texans-Colts projections. Stefon Diggs, 60.5 receiving yards up against the Colts. Give me the more on that one as well. Stefon Diggs, his first regular season game for the Houston Texans. I'm 100% going the more on the 60.5 receiving yards for this man right here. He was just named a captain for your Houston Texans team. And, obviously, the connection between him and CJ Stroud seems to be pretty strong. I think they're going to try to get him going in his first game for the Texans. And like I said, his teammates already voted him a captain. So he has that good rapport in the locker room. He seems like spirits are high. He's on a 1-year deal. He's on a prove-it deal, and he's out to prove every single person in the NFL wrong. So why not, take that stat projection on a guy like Stefon Diggs and say, hey, this is a guy who's willing to go out and prove it week 1. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with Stefon Diggs in week 1. Do you agree with me? I want you to go down in the comment section right now. Tell me, how many receiving yards do you think Diggs will have week 1 up against the Indianapolis Colts? Go down in the comment section. Let me know. Do you think it'll be 70, 80, 90, 100, 200? Well, maybe not 200. But let me know how many receiving yards you think he's going to have in week 1. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit that sub button for daily Texans videos all year long, 100% free. We have the best Texans community on YouTube for good reasons because of viewers like you. Some awesome Texans viewers, some awesome Texans fans that watch each and every single show. We're going to have more live shows this year, so I don't want you to miss a single thing around your favorite NFL franchise, the Houston Texans. Go down and hit that sub button or go to youtube.com/TexansTV. All right, let's go with our next projection. Joe Mixon, 12 fantasy points versus the Colts. Now, this is an interesting one because it can go in a couple different ways. He can get some receiving yards, some rushing yards, maybe a touchdown here and there. So give me the more on that one as well. Life's too short to go with the less. So I'm going more on Joe Mixon. Look, Aaron Wilson already reported this week that Joe Mixon should have a heavy workload. And the Texans, they were just being precautious during preseason training camp. He's 100%. He's ready to go, and he's ready for a heavy workload. Also, I have him on one of my fantasy teams in against my best friend. So this is also some wishful thinking on my part because, Joe Mixon does well. I do well on multiple fronts, on PrizePicks and on my fantasy team. But regardless, I think Joe Mixon is going to go off in week 1. And I really do think the Texans offense could be a little bit more balanced than you think. His stats with the Bengals show that he is a workhorse. He's ready to tote the rock as many times as you need him to do so. So, Joe Mixon, give me the more on those rushing or on those fantasy points. 12 fantasy points in week 1. Yeah, I'm going the more on Joe Mixon. Next, let's talk about our savior, our franchise, our QB1, Mr. C.J. Stroud. Yeah, I'm going more on 2.5 passing touchdowns up against the Colts. That is easy money. C.J. Stroud more than 2.5 passing touchdowns? Yeah, book it right now because Stroud, he has a lot of new weapons at his disposal, and I think he'll be able to use all those weapons as he pleases in week 1. The Colts secondary, I'm not going to mince words. It's definitely not top 10 by any means. The Colts secondary is very average. So I'm thinking 3 or 4 touchdowns in week 1 for Mr. C.J. Stroud. I really think he can go off. And look, I know there's a lot of hype around Stroud. There's a lot of hype around the offense. And it worries a lot of people because you're like, wow, could all the hype just be that? Could it just be hype? But I really don't think so. When you look at this Colts secondary, first of all, Juju Brents has been questionable all week. We'll have to see how he feels on game day. But the rest of this Colts secondary, their best player is by far Kenny Moore in the slot. Besides that, nobody really scares me in this Colts secondary. And as I said, a lot of hype around this Texans offense. Stroud, I think, deservedly gets it. And I feel like his leadership, his demeanor, his willingness to win. He said earlier today, hey, you know what means more to me than any other trophy, any other accolade? Is being a captain for this team, is having all my guys on my team having my back. And that means, this dude is such a leader, such a guy that you can trust in the locker room. I think he's not going to let it get to his head. He's going to be able to improve going into year 2, and everybody's hoping for a sophomore slump. They really hope C.J. Stroud's not good this year. And newsflash, I think your dreams are going to be broken because I think C.J. Stroud's going to elevate his game and even be better than he was in his rookie campaign. Now, let's get to our 5th projection, Danielle Hunter. 0.25 sacks against the Colts. I think you can easily fill this one in for me. I'm going the more on that one as well. 0.25 sacks for Danielle Hunter? For Danielle Hunter. That's almost disrespectful in my opinion. The Texans, they signed Hunter in free agency, and Will Anderson, thank God, he is going to be good to go for week 1 on the opposite side of Danielle Hunter. Anthony Richardson, he's a good young quarterback. He's mobile, but he's just that. He's young. He's inexperienced. So I could see him trying to get out of the pocket too early. I could see him trying to make something happen, and Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson are right there to get a sack on Richardson. Last year, top 5 in sacks. He had 16 and a half on the year for the Minnesota Vikings last season. You're telling me Danielle Hunter won't get a half sack, 1 sack in week 1? Yeah, I don't think so. I think Danielle Hunter will for sure get his pressures in, and he's going to get a couple QB hits, and I think he at least gets a half sack in week 1. But I'm not going to ask you if the Texans are going to get a sack in week 1 because I think everybody's going to say yes. I want to ask a different question. Who do you think gets the first sack of the season for the Houston Texans? Is it one of our, bookend edge rushers in Danielle Hunter or Will Anderson Jr.? Is it maybe defensive tackle in Foley Futakasi, Mario Edwards Jr.? Is it a blitzing linebacker in Azeez Al-Shire? Maybe Jalen Petrie in the slot? Let me know who you think gets the first sack for the Houston Texans this season. Now, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs if you want more Texans news and rumors all year long. And if you're asking me who I think is going to get the first sack of the season, I'm actually going to go a non-chalk answer here. I obviously think Danielle Hunter is going to get at least a half sack on the game. First sack of the year, though, give me Jalen Petrie on a little, slot blitz, really surprising Anthony Richardson, maybe throwing some things at him that he hasn't seen before. We know D'Amico Ryans usually only likes to blitz 4, but maybe Jalen Petrie surprises him and gets the first sack of the season for your Houston Texans. Now, I have one more projection on PrizePicks. And this one's a little combo, a little combination, as they like to say. Michael Pittman or Tank Dell, 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. So it's basically Michael Pittman or Tank Dell. One of those guys has to score either rushing the football or receiving. I'm going more on that one. And I'll tell you why. Because, Pittman and Dell, the combo, I kind of like these combo picks that PrizePicks offers because it gives you more than one avenue to win. And I really think on Sunday, Dell is going to be a heavy target in the red zone for the Houston Texans offense. I think he will get a good workload, especially down there in the red zone. I think that is a pretty, safe for me, But I also think on the Colts side, and obviously I want the Texans to blank the Colts. I want them to have 0 points on Sunday. But if they do score, Michael Pittman, he's their wide receiver 1. So I could see the Colts throwing it to Michael Pittman, him getting 1 touchdown on the day. So I think that's a safe play to say, let's combo Tank Dell, Michael Pittman Jr., and one of those guys is going to find pay dirt on Sunday. Now, like I said, you can use my picks or you can fade my picks. Just do them over at PrizePicks and make sure you download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS and you get $50 when you play $5 instantly. You don't even have to win. You get $50 when you play 5. And a quick reminder, as producer Smitty is showing you all my picks for this weekend, I put in $20. $20 with all these if they hit. If every single one of those things hits. And I think, I put together a really good lineup. $20, you can win $600. 600 smackaroos. 600 cold, hard cash stacks. So, if you want to win some money, if you want to do it with our sponsor at PrizePicks, maybe listen to me or don't. Just do it over at PrizePicks.